The Sandpiper by Forest River with problems. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go down here. Show you what we're doing. Rotted. So all this is all rotted. Well, you got the center isn't. It's this outside edge, that outside edge. I got to check the bottom. I haven't done that. I got a fan on there. We obviously took the siding off, and the way they decide to do the siding, and a lot of them, what they're doing is getting, these are all pre-prep panels, pre-prep, meaning that they have the luan on the back of the phylon, and they just glue them on. That's it. They just glue them on there and hold it down. Monkey holds it for a minute or two till it tacks up, and they go, okay. But the only thing that really holds it on is going to be the window frame, the lights, ladder. Those things are what's going to really hold it on. But anyhow, so we got all that off of there. Now we're letting it dry. We've got some good rot right here on the side. I've got rot going on down here, but it's only maybe about 8 inches or so back in there at. So that's what we're doing now, taking the window out, because I'm going to have to get in there and try to do some surgery to get that piece out. And then this one here though, this side, it's all bad. All the way over to the slide out. It's all the way in there. Don't have a flashlight, but anyhow, it goes. When you can push on it like that, and you see how it's flexing, it's all the way over there. So we'll open the slide and we'll take all that out. And like you said, I'll investigate down here. But we'll obviously fix what we need to fix. Just giving you the rundown. It needs a new roof, and then looks like we may have some truss issues on this. And I know we need a new roof deck, that's for sure. So we'll get all that squared away. But this is the lowdown right now, and I'm sure it's got one of them moron roofs up on there. I just haven't gotten up there. What we're trying to do is explore what I call my exploration, if you will, that I go in and I check things to see all what's wrong so I can figure out what I need for materials and how to pull the project together. So we got this one, we got another one over there too that we're working on. That's anyways, that's another bag of bologna. Here's another bag of bologna right here. This one, you'll see them all. This one is, I can't even remember what that is. I don't know what it is. It'll probably be called Teddy Bear. We got a Lance sitting over there, Lance camper. That's another issue that we got. But you'll see all the videos pop up when we're done with them. But just to let you know what we're up against, what keeps us busy. Check out this back wall, this Sandpiper. We got some new framing right here we're going to put in a second. But we cleaned most of this off. We got all that rot out of there, and now, but what I wanted to show you, see if I can get in here. All I did was staple that on there. That's it. They're getting worse and worse every year I see them. So obviously we're going to replace that. It's all rotted anyways. The bottom is. This one, it's just discolored, but it's not rotted. You can see those hash marks in there. I hit it with a hatchet to make sure that one's solid. But we're going to screw these all together, and then we're going to put some rigid foam in it and everything. But we're trying to salvage. That's the paper. This is the actual. There's a luan right here, but the paper is it's laminated to the luan. So we want to salvage that, because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to glue this piece back to our insulation and make sure. So then you don't even have to worry about trying to change wallpaper. That's what I try to do. We're going to replace that truss altogether. That's gone. We got some more pieces, and we're going to bridge it all together and pull it in and screw and glue everything together. That's the way we do it. So it'll take a little bit to get it done, but we had some other rot over on this side that we're working with. For this piece here, we just got fitted in, and then we had another little square up there that was rotted. That's going to get all skinned over. So we'll get that in there. I got another piece that's going right on this side to fill in the framing, right? And then we'll get it all together. So, but we got to make sure it's all glued and so forth. So this is just all dry. It's all dry now. It's just all discolored. But we squirted it down twice anyways with mold kill. So it's all set in regards to that. And like you said, we're going to put all the rigid foam in there. It'll pull it all together. You'll see what I'm talking about. And I've done quite a few of them. You can probably see a few back wall rebuilds that I've done. And again, this isn't a DIY video. We're trying to show the customer, hey, Mr. Customer, this is what we're doing for you. Mrs. Customer, this is what we're doing for you. And so they know it's been put together properly. And you know, sometimes you go to these shops, and I see them on YouTube all the time. I see them, and I go, wow. And there's some shops out there that claim they do roofs, and I'll tell you, there's one company out there that did a roof on, they did a commercial roof on a Discovery, and you can look it up. But I'll tell you what, it looked like a bunch of monkeys trying to have their way with a Vaselined up beach ball. I'll tell you what, it just didn't bode well. And I'm sure, at least, because when I watched it, they didn't show every little step in it, but I know it leaked because I can tell what they didn't do already. So we haven't heard anything back on it. I mean, I've tried to see if there's any comments on there, but anyhow, let me get to work on this. Okay, so we've got a lot of this framed out. So what we did is we replaced this board here. We replaced this stud. Obviously, we replaced a lot of them. But when you put this in here, even though you're getting this secured to here, what's holding the wall? So this is a foam adhesive that we use. So that's going to tie this all together. That's why we did it. These are for the lights. We framed everything back down. It was a little more rotted on the tail than I originally, on the earlier clip I had said that I took a hatchet and I checked, and one of them were, and this one wasn't, that one wasn't. I just said the heck with it, made an executive decision. So what we did is we cut it up higher, so, and then we just spliced it all together. And it's all, you can see, everything is all glued and secured. It isn't going anywhere. So we framed around the window, put all that steel, put around there, put our blockers in. This is for the ladder. Then obviously for the lights, that's for the bottom of the ladder too. So now we've worked on this side, got this off of here. We got to put a new sheet on this. And again, we're going to load that up. We got some foam adhesive in there. You can see it right there. So we got new blocking up there, got a new truss up there. So we're good to go. I think, well, let's see what we got on top of the roof. Right now, I'm just more concerned about getting the wall together. So the next step is we're going to put rigid foam in here. It's not your typical, this is just that batten insulation in here, you can see. So we're not doing that. We're going to put the foam, rigid foam. You got a piece there? So that rigid foam will go in, and we're going to adhere it to here. And then we adhere the new sheeting to the foam and to the framing, so everything's all tight as a drum. And then we're going to try and get that wrinkle out too from the inside. But that's what we're doing now, is just dry fitting all of this, and then we'll start getting everything all glued together. And we're ready to rock and roll, get the piece on there, and the pylon's all cleaned up. We have to do that, and we'll get it replaced as well. So just figure I'd give you an update on where we're at so far. I got one piece glued on. You see how we filled it with foam adhesive, so it'll bond everything together. Then we also glue that on there with a spray foam, with a spray adhesive. We're doing that now. We're getting everything all lined up. Then we're working over here. We're gonna get a new piece on this side. This is the passenger's corner. So that's the passenger's rear tail lights. So we're getting that all prepped up. We got the other side already done. Already got that there. Got to sneak around this ladder. So we gotta get the fiberglass back on there with the siding, pylon. But that's us. We'll trim the top here afterwards. But everything's coming along. Alright, light on the set. Now we're got it all getting the gluing going. Get the gluing going. Yahoo! We'll spray it all up. Probably clean that tip a little bit. Alright, so we got the back wall all done. That is all set. Got this piece on here. This is the driver's rear corner, but it's obviously looking like we got to replace this truss here. So we get that, and show you this fine roof. You got some more of this awesome Tightcore stuff. I'm guessing it's Tightcore. Put more on. This stuff's just terrible. Looks like there's a couple of cracks in it anyways. That's just a squirrel off, I'm guessing, from the self-leveling. That stuff is just junk. Don't use it, you know. Tightcore, what they do is they exploit people's ignorance to roof systems. This is not the way you do a roof. So they want you to use their product. And the best way to do it is to make sure it fails within 3 to 4 months, so you get up there and redo it, right? Put more on. And it's a shame, but what is it, 14, 15 bucks a tube or something like that? But It's not necessary if you do it right, but they just want to get these things, get them built, get them out, get them sold. So, you know, we've got a couple of patches that we'll put on here, you know, with that tape. That's all. And then and this is just your typical RV roof. That's all it is, typical RV roof like we've showed before, real thin. And obviously we're going to be putting a commercial roof on here. You can see they slobbered all of this all over here. That's just going to be a bugger to get. And then what happens, you end up with like maybe a cleaner spot underneath there by the time we shave this off. And not much we can do about that. But on some of them that have been real bad, we've tried to doll it up the best we can, but it is going to be sticking out. What? Oh, that's like an inch of slobber on there. We'll be replacing that with a boot. Instead, you won't have that base. You won't have any of that. But you can see all of there. Actually, even underneath here, you can see how it's starting to fracture. See those little cracks in there? That's what they want you to do, is keep putting more on. They know the product fails every 3 to 4 months. They know that because it's just not formulated to withstand the UV light. So they know it's going to fail, and they go, that's all right, just put some more of it on there, you know? I mean, gee whiz, give it a break. Just, you know, if they really were out for quality, if they were, why wouldn't they bring it back and say, hey, reformulate this so it doesn't fail so quickly, right? Now, that being said, I have a lot of comments where people say, what can I use? Dicor is made by Carlisle Syntec. Carlisle Syntec makes a commercial grade EPDM rubber, and they also make a lap sealant for it, so you can look for that. It's Carlisle's EPDM lap sealant. You usually can find it at your local supply house, but almost any commercial lap sealant will work much better than that. Still, things need to be prepped and so forth, so just, you know, read the back of the tube and whatnot. You know, we don't promote these to be a DIY video. We put them together for our customers so our customer can see all the work we've done, what we've been doing. And we just get inundated with a lot of questions, and it just takes up a lot of time, and at the risk of sounding like a jerk, which I'm not trying to be, I just simply don't have the time to answer them all. So that being said, you know, there's that tip for that. I get a lot of questions on that. You can use it's called Carlisle lap sealant. So these are the shoulders that come off of here. So we can see we got batten insulation up underneath there. So when we peel, we're going to replace this whole decking. We're going to take it all up because I want to check the trunk lines to the AC. I want to check the electrical lines. I want to check everything before I put a roof on it. I don't want to just take for granted that the RV manufacturer actually did something right. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. Most of the time we end up having to tape up some trunk lines, and then where the wires come up through the wall, and you'll see when we get all of this off, if you've watched other videos, you've seen where the wires come up, they get compromised from the ferrule inside there. So something else to keep in mind, sometimes on here the stitching will break loose on here, and you can tell this is starting to wear, and it's really kind of rigid. Hear that? It's not supposed to make all that noise. So this isn't in the work order to replace the awning, but you know, you can tell right there we've got some, that's premature failure, we'll call it that. And then also, if you look at your roof, if you have a roof like this, and you can see, this is what I call egg shelling. In the commercial business, these cracks are a lot bigger, especially on a tar and gravel or what they call a built-up roof, which are typically petroleum-based roof systems. But anyhow, those will be a lot bigger. We call those gatoring because it looks like the back of an alligator. But this looks more like when you're trying to crack a hard-boiled egg. That's why I call it egg shelling. And when you see all that, that pretty much means that's the end of this roof. You're done. Some people want to coat this. I wouldn't be coating anything. I don't coat it because I don't know what's underneath it. That's number one, and that's the main factor. What's under this thing? You know, is it all set? So if you coat over this, you're not going to solve the problems that are inside. So then your air conditioner trunk line fails, or a wire is at its last brink and it fails. Then you got to take something up or something out to get at it, right? So let's do it all right the first time. Also, you can't put them on curbs. They just spray over it. And if you watch, I think it's RV Armor, he has a video out on air conditioners, and he explains within the 1 minute mark, he explains that if this was a commercial project, he said that, or a commercial roof, he said that it would have a curb with flashing and counter flash on it. Well, that's exactly what we do. So he knows that's the way it's supposed to be done. They just don't want to do it. He also goes on to say that you could possibly have some leaks, and to go in there and to just tighten those bolts down. You can't really just go in and tighten them down willy-nilly. They're supposed to be torqued down. So what happens on a typical roof like this, and there's a little gasket underneath there, there's a little gasket, a little foam gasket. It's about 1 inch, maybe some of 3/4, but you can see it under there. And what happens is when you're traveling, or even when it's sitting for that matter, when the wind is blowing, it pushes all of the debris up into that foam gasket. It dries out, and that's how it starts to fail. When it starts to fail, then you start getting your leaks. So they do recommend to replace those gaskets every 2 years. But my point is that all that water is just, the only thing protecting it from leaking is that foam gasket. And I don't like that so much. So that's why all these are put on curbs. That's a commercial application, is everything put on a curb. Once they're up on a curb, and you can Google commercial roof images. If you want to Google that, or DuckDuckGo that, or Brave, or whichever browser you're looking at, but go on and look at some of these online, and you'll see that all the commercial roofs, the vents, the air conditioners, and even the plumbing will be that'll be on a boot. These will be on a curb. This will be on a curb. Everything will be elevated off the roof line. That's how what's called a low slope or a flat roof functions. It doesn't function like this. That's why they're always failing. That's why we're always working on them. We stay super busy trying to fix all the mistakes that these cheap manufacturers just want to push the product out. And most folks, even when you buy a used one, get up there and look at the roof. Get up there and look at the roof, and you can give us a call and say, hey, I'm looking at this, this whatever it is, and you may want to barter, some of that roof cost into it. Why do you want to buy a roof that's, a camper that's already needs a roof right off the rip? And these aren't easy to do, and they're not cheap to do. So, you can call around at any other RV place and say, hey, how much is it for a roof? And, if you want to do some comparative shopping, but get up on the roof is my point, and check it out. And if you see a big wads of slobber, and you see like this gatoring on there, the eggshelling like I'm showing you, and the cracks underneath all of this, this roof, or the roof you're looking at, is about to fail. If you see big wads of caulking, that's kind of a red flag. That tells me there was a problem. And then they said, well, we didn't quite get it, let's put some more on, and then you keep wadding it up. That could tell you there's a problem underneath there. So, or even on the sides of a Class C, you want to get up there and punch that, the platform. And if it's not solid, you may have to rebuild the whole bunk after you buy the coach. And these salespeople, they don't care. They're going to lie to you to sell this thing. They're going to lie to you. And say, oh, it's fine, it's fine. You get up there and you may look at it and it may have a coating. And if it looks real clean with a coating, and then you factor in the year of it, especially if it's more than 10 years old, you'll need a roof. Those coatings are terrible. So if all this worked, when we did commercial work, if all of this worked, meaning the coatings and those basically recovery systems, if they worked, I'd just buy the machine. We had one for commercial applications, like kind of up on these metal buildings. We had them for that, and it worked great for that. That was the intent for it. But on a camper or a coach, you don't want to use it on there. If I thought that and felt comfortable with it, I'd just go buy the machine and spray it off. Say, see you later, bye, there you go. But I don't feel comfortable with it because I don't know, again, what's underneath it. So now customer comes in, spends a few $1,000s to have their roof sprayed. And then again, like I said, they may have a trunk line issue, they may have an electrical issue. I don't know what's underneath this thing. Would you want to spray over this knowing you had rot all the way back down here? You got rot down here? Let's spray over that, Of course not, So obviously that sheet's got to be replaced. Is the insulation any good? That's something else we're going to check. If it's all damp or still, and I'm looking at this one under here and we haven't even got that open, I'm wondering if that truss is okay. These are the bands that they put together, and that basically it fastens, much like when you do a deck, when you got your joist going, that's would be called a band joist, or some people call them a ribbon. But this is what collects them all together and keeps them even, okay? And also this is what we're going to use, well, on this case, the term bar is here, but a lot of times the term bar is up here. The termination, meaning the awning gutter rail, is right here. So if it is, then, and if it's up there and it's rotted and it's compromised, well, how is everything going to stay together well? So these are all the things you want to check out prior to just throwing a roof on it. I don't want to do this thing again. I'm sure he doesn't want to do it again. Let's get it done once, be done with it. So, all right, enough of the jibber jabber. I'm going to get to work and we're going to tear this apart and we'll show you what we got underneath. So we got the roof deck up. Trying not to show those guys down there. I'll tell you what, those guys, they're ugly. They're so ugly. They would make an onion cry. Now that's ugly right there. Look at here. Wet insulation. We had this in storage for at least 2 months and it's still wet. I don't know if I can wring some of it out, but let's see. It's just all, see how it all wads up? So we got to get a blower on this thing, change out that. Truss is obviously rotted, so we got to get a new truss in here. I mean, at least on this end it is, not the whole thing, but I don't know if we're gonna. I mean, it is rotted in there. Actually, it sounds pretty solid down there, but let's see what we can do about trying to loosen it up and getting it out of there. It's just kind of a challenge because the ceiling is secured to it. Sometimes you got cabinets secured to it to try to do it. So I don't know if we'll do that or just mold kill it and then put another one beside it. That may be our option right there, or somehow bridge it. What it's for is the break on the plywood. So that's what the last one was, and they had this little crumb right here. So we could really just omit it, don't worry about it, get it cleaned up obviously. And then, you know, we could jump over here and maybe put one maybe here or whatever, I don't know. Let's see what's all connected to it. I just try to not tear into somebody's wallet unnecessarily if we can find a better option, because it does seem solid. It looks worse than what it really is. And you can hear that. So, but obviously this isn't also good. So we may be able to just splice into it. I'll find out after I cut this away. Maybe we could just put a piece in here. I don't know. Anyhow, moving on. So I'm lifting all this back because a lot of times on other ones the wires will come up through here. See? So that's what I'm checking. Then we're going to check that AC duct line too in a second. But this one, these wires come up this way, and these are some of my concerns. Look at that scar in there. So if this keeps going, you can just see how sharp these things are. Those are called ferrules. These are called ferrules. And we just need to put some protection in there. You can put loom in there. You can put a bushing in there. I don't have a bushing with me, but I'll get one, see if it'll fit, or some loom or something. So that's what we're looking for. That, and then over here I'm going to be looking for making sure these trunk lines, they got a hole right here, it looks like. Right there. Right here. So we got to check all that out. I already flipped all these. There's nothing down here at all. Nothing here. But that's what we do. We want to explore it and make sure everything is protected. Let me go around the other way. This is what's great about having scaffold. If you are watching these videos and you opt to trade with somebody else, another company, make sure if they don't have full scaffolding and they do it for a living, why would they not? It's kind of like the carpenter not having a hammer. This is just part of the biz. You need to have it. We've probably got, in this shop, I know I've got at least $10,000 worth of scaffold in here. You know, by the time you do scaffolding and railings and walkboards and everything, yeah. So this, like I said, this is what we're doing here, checking everything. I want to see if we find any more of them wires. These are just a big set of wires that are running down, those ones there. So, there we go, that's a little better. I had it zoomed in. So these wires are going through the wall. They're not going through a ferrule. There's no ferrule in there. It's just going through the wall. Does look like a little piece of metal in there. We'll check it. We'll probably put a piece of loom in it just to be on the safe side. We'll do that. Check. Yeah, these are all group of wires here. Boy, those are tight. Yeah, they really are tight in there. There's a whole bundle right there. So we're just trying to see. That's got all wood. That just came up through a chase wall right there. That's all that did. So that's okay. Then when we take these apart, this was a power fan. So what we do is when we disconnect it, we got the white, and I leave the pieces on there like that. So this way, when you go to put them back, you go, where goes where? Any chucklehead can go, oh yeah, put the red right there and the white right there. Easy peasy. Gotta stay organized. Just makes it easier for everybody else. No, I think that's it. I think that's the only group we saw. Let me see if I can find a bushing. When I do, we'll put one in, and then I'm going to investigate this truss and see what I want to do and how I want to go about it. Well, we decided to take it out. So I got this ripped out. I'll make a new one and splice it in and get it all back to strength where it needs to be. It's just where the panels come together here. And then you can see it looks kind of damp. We just sprayed it yet again with more mold kill. So I just want to make sure it is dead. Then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm looking for all these little holes, and like you can see, right there. That's a nail hole. And there's another one like right there, I think. You see them right there? That's a staple right there. So we've got a couple of holes there. And another one here. One here. So what I'm going to do is just keep cleaning every one of these out and make sure they didn't shoot through. They put quite a few nails in them, which was pretty good. At least on the edges they did. It's still not glued down. You need to have the glue on there. That's paramount. It helps hold everything together. But anyhow, like I said, well, see, there's no staple up underneath there. So look, we got a hole right there. You can see that right there. So that's, like I said, that's what I'm doing there. And then I also got these in. These are the bushings. And they just slide in. These are actually electrical code. If this such a scenario happened in a commercial residential application, it wouldn't pass code because of that. It would chafe it. So, and I did the same to the other wires that were over there somewhere. So, like I said, now, and I also want to check these joints. I want to make sure those are strong, that they're not compromised. And looking at this little crack right here, I'll probably put a lick. I've got a hole right there anyways. And there's another hole right here. So we got to tape some of this up. It doesn't make sense. You'll end up blowing all that cold air up into a hot roof and you get condensation building up. We don't want to have all that nonsense going on. So, all right, well, let us get to work and figure this mess out. We're putting some glue on her now. And then the other thing we did is I put this foam on top of the ductwork here. We need one more little piece right there. We have another little piece. Shove it right on there.
A piece of the soft insulation over it.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, we'll put that other piece on it. We just want to give it some, added protection on there. That stays there. He's talking about that one that's right in there. Right in there. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to put this down and we're going to staple it. Don't come in there. Alright, Sandpiper roof is all down. We also, you can see we got the shoulders on and we glued them down. So they're glued and they're fastened down there. So they're not coming loose. Next step, we got our protective strips going over all the joints like this. All the joints where they come together. We'll put our protective strips down and we'll probably put a protective strip on this. And then she's ready to go. I don't know if we even need one on there. That doesn't even feel sharp, but we'll check it out. If it does, we'll put one on there. And then that's us. So this will get glued down just like a so. And we'll put one down there. Roof.
Oh, we get the passenger side. We got it all glued up. And we're going to roll her over. You can see we've already got our protective strips in there. Got our shoulders down. We did run a protective strip down that shoulder. It didn't look like it was that bad, but I just err on the side of caution. It's just the way we do things here. So I wanted to make sure it'd be all set. So all we got to do now is just roll this over. And then we'll get the big roller on here, that heavy one. We'll roll it down. Then we start cutting out curbs and everything else to get we're cutting the holes for the curbs for your vents and AC and start plucking her back together. Oh, we got Big Bertha up here. She's gonna pack her down. We got Stinky Feet here.
Oh, I thought I was Big Bertha.
Oh, man.
I thought I was
Yeah,
Big
you're
Bertha.
getting there. You're getting there, though.
I thought I was Big Bertha.
So all we're doing over here is just trying to tighten up some of the, where you can see the protective strips that we put on there. We just try to get them pronounced a little bit. They look good. So all we're going to do now is roll this back and forth, back and forth. It took him a while to learn this because he kept running over his toe. Yeah.
Now once we got the gutter rail on, use your gutter and awning rail. See how the caulking around every single screw all the way down on both sides. That's important. You want to have these sealed down. Then we still got to put a strike of caulking up here, and then actually we'll have 2 strikes up there. But I wanted to show these here. So that's where we're at so far. This is an insert. This insert trim's a little different. This insert trim, you can see it's got a groove in it. It's got a groove on both sides. It fits in that track right there. The other stuff just sits inside that track and inside that track on the top. And then water can still get down, it trickles down in there. And I like this because it locks the water out. You know, you still may get some condensation in there, but you're not going to get the water itself from the rain and everything in there, that's for sure. We are done with the Sandpiper. here we are, RVRI, October of 21. We put those on there because when it comes back for inspections, we want to know how long it's been on, if there's any issues, anything like that, you know. And also, if the customer does go to sell his camper, we don't want anybody coming up here trying to talk him down and say, hey, I got to put a roof on these things. All these things leak. We'd be like, oh, no, this thing we just put on there. This is a 20-year roof system. That's what we put on. This is a commercial grade 20-year roof system. So the original termination bar was on the back here, and we moved it down here. This way nothing gets trapped. These corners, they're just, a lot of these coaches where the corner mold will come up and go this way, right across the front here a little bit, and then the piece comes down, it makes this corner, and then the water just pools there and it leaks down inside on both of them and it rots it out. So you saw we already rebuilt the wall, we already showed all that, sealed all the lights, and we got all that squared away. So everything we've got, like the boots, everything we make here, we fabricate, like these boots, we fabricate the curbs, and everything is all heat welded in there. You can see we got the stands in the back of the AC, so we get that. And then we got 2 licks of caulking going down here. Got 2 strikes on there. We also got a piece of counter flash in the front. So when the water comes down, at least it'll come down or go below the counter flash on our curb. We've custom built those with a counter flash as well. So this goes down below that so it can travel out. There's a foam gasket up in there, and I don't want even the wind to drool down and even that little bit to blow it in there. So that's why we put that in there. You can see this here, he's got some cracks on these, on a couple of them. I think the other one, we tried to do the best we could to try to mitigate that, but you may need some new covers. Also, you know, like I brought out before, the stitching on these is starting to fail, and on that one as well. I already showed that earlier. And we put these videos together for the customer to see all the work we've done, and then they know, because a lot of them will ask us, hey, what'd you do, what'd you find, and they say, hey, watch the video. It's so much easier, because honestly, I'll forget by the time, you know, someone comes around, because I'm on something else already. But we got all that together. Like I said, all those curbs, I showed you the stands in the back, all these curbs right here, they're all welded all the way inside here, the whole thing is. And then we sealed in the skylight, that's all sealed in. We don't use screws, and I would recommend, if you're, as much as this is not a DIY channel, put it down with some good adhesive caulk, and then you can take screws out. That's what we do. You won't have any issues. The problem is, all you have to do is put a little bit more torque, and a lot of times the screw holes are not the right size, and you'd really have to drill them out so you have enough play in there, so when these expand and contract, that they won't put pressure on those screws and give you these little tiny tear fractures. So we just stopped doing it all together. That is not coming off. If your windshield isn't coming out, that isn't coming off. So, and again, we got the same curb over there, all welded, custom boots with the plumbing right there. And then this is the counter flash I was talking about right here. This is a piece of counter flash. The air conditioners have the same counter flash. So that this lower counter flash right here goes over this counter flash on the curb. So, well, we'll go to the front here. So now it's just going to run underneath this. We just washed this roof too. Gee whiz, a lot of dust coming around this shop. But same thing with this. Obviously got some covers on. We've got another counter flash on the front right there on this one, and everything is all set. We're done. We are done. And this here is a 60 mil TPO, which is a thermoplastic commercial roof. It's the same exact membrane you're going to find on a. Come on, camera, focus in there. There it goes. Getting a little squirrely. There's the same product you're going to find on a hospital, or you're going to find it on a restaurant, you can find it on an office building. Same exact product, same exact installation. What I did is I custom designed all of these curbs and everything to fit and to function for an RV, or you know, a travel trailer, whichever. But we got that. That's a Wineguard 8500 series antenna, and you can see we got these bolts that go down into the roof. If in any event, if the antenna failed or tree branch clips it, whichever, all you have to do is just take a 9/16 wrench and you just unscrew all 3 of those bolts, and you can go to the store, get another one, drop one on. There's a coax on the other side. We took all the scaffolding apart, so I can't get on the other side because we were working on everything so much. But see, you can see the coax right there. See if I can zoom in a little bit. You can see the coax. So you just undo those bolts. You may have to possibly drill out those, because those are 3/8 bolts. So you may have to drill them out a little bit. But I want to thank the customer for coming all this way to have us do the work. We really appreciate it. And we take everything we do, we take it seriously, because we don't want anything to happen to the roof. We don't want you to do it twice. And that's why some folks say, hey, how long does it take? I don't know. I mean, like this one here, when it came in, we had to do he was expecting just the back wall to be done. But then we found problems on this side, and we found problems on the other side down there. So we fixed all that. That entails a little bit more work. So, you know, we had quite a bit to do to get it, you know, where we needed to pull it back together the right way. You just don't want to do that and ignore this, right? So the only other thing I would recommend them to do is go around all the windows and everything else around here. Make sure everything is all sealed up well. Windows, latches, door, everything. Anything that, if it's attached to it, make sure it's sealed up well, okay? So let's see, we got all the coaches that come out with a care package. This is our care package right here. See if I can zoom this in. We got a license plate right here if he wants to put that on. We've got, this is a piece of patch. It's an emergency patch in case he got a tree branch to come down and if he had to patch it. Now this is a hot patch. This is the one that we would use much like this one around here. It's just the same material, but so that would have to be welded in. However, in an emergency, if you had a hole, I won't say whatever, right here, if you saw it in there, you take this and shove it in that hole and you go squirt, 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 squirt all around in a circle like that and load it. Then you squeeze it, it'll bubble up. That's done. This is a moisture cured product. That's what we use. We use all Chemlink products. This is Durlink. That's what we use. So that'll seal it. But then we also left a couple of patches. So the way you want to do your patching, get that there so it don't roll away. The way you want to do your patching, and we left a couple in here, is you would center it over your hole. Once you get it centered, take a pen and outline this. You want to outline it with a pen. Now you got that, just set that aside. And we left, there's a little bit of primer right here. You're going to need that primer. And I might as well empty everything out of this thing. Here's a brush. So now you want to go beyond the ink line. You want to go beyond that, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. So you're going to be doing this on your ink line. Then you want to do the whole thing here. So you got all the inside the ink line, and then about 3/8 over the ink line. You're going to take your patch. You're going to peel the back. This will peel. This film will peel right off, and you line it up. And I usually reach up underneath, and then I take my other hand and I kind of pull it this way. It keeps it nice and smooth. Now you've got your ink line there. You got your primer out here. You take your brush again and go over this, just like that. Okay, go over here, because it won't bond to this. That's the purpose of the primer. Nothing's going to bond to the TPO unless it's primed. So once you get that, then you come back with your product and you can put some caulking around there. And that's going to be a pretty darn good Band-Aid. Now, if the customer really feels he needs to have a hot patch put on it, that's why we left this. We don't want someone to just go to if he can't come back here, we do them for free. If he can't make it here and he's somewhere else, he's like, yeah, that really needs to be put on there. You cannot interchange these materials. So some people think you can take, this is a Carlisle membrane right here. Now Carlisle does make a couple other products, but it has to be the same Carlisle product. But you couldn't take, for instance, GAF and put it on there. You couldn't take Genflex and put it on there. You can't do that. They're two totally different companies and they're two totally different products. I mean, they're still TPO, but it's kind of like Ford and Chevy. Yeah, they're both a car, they're both a truck, but they're not compatible. You're not swapping parts on them. So it may seem like it'll weld on there. And I've had people at supply houses tell me, oh yeah, we don't have any of that, but you can use this. You can't. There's enough chemical imbalance in each product where they're not compatible. So that's why we put that in there, just in case. So you got the primer, you got that, you got the brush, you got some caulking. And then the caulking, we like to see these come back in 30 days, okay? 30 to 60 days for an initial inspection. After that, it's annual. Now, if the customer says, well, I want to inspect it myself, we want them to go along, put a little friction on here to get it warmed up, and then this is going to stay tight anyways. But in the event he found something, hey, it looks a little loose or whatever, you can put a little bit more primer on there, and you can use that to just give it a little love, especially around the corners. You can go around the corners and everything like that if you had to. So that's why we put all that in there. Let's see, we got a magnet for maybe on your hood of your stove. Got a couple of pens here. Got a fancy dancy key tag with a beverage opener. We can't say beer. It's a beverage. So this is a checker tool. So this is used to check the joint, the welds. You go along like this, and if it pops in there and you find a little hole, we'll say there was a tiny bit, if you did, well, that's what you check for. It needs to kind of move a little bit. So if you did, then again, you can take the primer, take a little brush, put it all in there, take the caulking, and you're done. Okay, that'll hold it so we can get a look at it and, you know, make sure everything's all set. But like I said, that's what we like to see. It come back in about 30 days. I like to see them, but 60, all right. But I still want them inspected because I don't want to have a little tiny problem turn into a big problem and then an upset customer. So we got all of that there, and that's, let's see what else we got here. Here is a sample of our product. This is a 60 mil commercial grade. And if you look real hard enough, you can probably see the little, see if I get the angle of this light in here from the shop. You can see these little squares. There's a mesh built into this, which gives it its strength. So that's where it'll resist hail damage. It'll resist tree branches. So it's really hard to poke through this. It truly is. You'd have to have something really hard and sharp to really get it. But if you had a big enough tree branch, that could possibly happen. So we get all that. And then like I said, got another T-tag and everything in here. So that's the gist of it. So all the customers, they get these here, and we got an emblem on the back. There's one of our emblems here that we put on the back, and that's about it. So we leave all this with the customer. So Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you know, at least they have all this stuff handy in case of an emergency. So we want to make sure everything stays tight and everything, you got all the products you need, so on. So obviously if you have any issues, there's our telephone number, 423-475-7663. Keeping all this in mind, these are not intended for DIY. I just simply don't have the time to answer all these DIY questions. And the other thing is, I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you have. I don't know what products are on there. And I have guys ask me all the time, what can I use for this? What can I use for that? And I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction and find out, okay, well, you got silicone on your windows. What can I use to do my windows? Well, you're going to have to dig all that out. You have to dig it all out. Nothing sticks to silicone. Silicone doesn't stick to silicone. So you really got to clean all that out. And if you don't know if you have silicone, and some people don't know the difference, they can't just go up there and feel it and go, yeah, that's silicone, or it's just a urethane, or it's a terpolymer. I mean, there's a bunch of different products out in the market now. But the biggest one is being the silicone. And some products kind of simulate in a touch, so you may think it's silicone, but all that has to be, like I said, it has to be removed. But again, that's why I try not to get into advising, and I just don't want anybody to be upset, but honestly, I really don't have the time at the risk of sounding like a jerk. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to do a good job, but you can imagine how many emails and, you know, we get from, you know, with questions, and also questions on our channel. Keeping this in mind as well, we don't quote on social media. If you want a quote on yours, you'd have to give us a call. Again, 423-475-7663. You can do that, and then you can send us an email even if you wanted to at contactus@rvroofingstall.com. So that's about it. Everything's done. I think the customer just showed up, so we're going to get him coupled up here, and he may want to take a glance at the roof, and otherwise we're good to go. So we appreciate y'all watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. What that does, from what I understand from the algorithms, what it does is if somebody's looking for information on RV roofs, then, you know, this video or other videos will pop up. That's what I'm guessing. So if you want to subscribe, well, we put these up pretty often. You can go through a lot of the other videos we have. Some, I'm trying to think of some really good ones that we did that were just a hot mess. There's a Georgetown we did, I think a couple years ago. That Georgetown, we did the whole ceiling, took the whole ceiling and roof out and rebuilt that whole entire thing. There's a Montana that's up there. There's a, earlier from years ago, maybe 5 years ago, there is a Siesta. And you can, that was roof we did, and the guy who did that roof put two roofs on, but the first one on messed it up, but the second one on messed it up. And you'll see that hot mess they did. They did not know what they're doing. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of guys out here on YouTube that'll say, hey, you can do this, you can do that. There's a couple of so-called experts that are out there, and I watched one of their videos, or a few of them, and I just shake my head because I know things are going to leak. And I know some of the stuff they've done, they have to have leaked, because there's just no way things go together like that. So if they're not, I don't think they mention that, but on their video, I haven't seen mention, hey, yeah, we had a leak, we had to fix it. But you know, if we have any issues, obviously we want the customer to come back immediately. come back immediately and let's stifle any leaks at all. But you know, that's like almost unheard of. And I'll be honest with you, some of the biggest problems we've had are with these skylights, with them fracturing, and that's why we do them differently. Some of these ones, like I said, they're manufacturer's defects on a lot of them. But that being said, especially if you had a cambered roof, if you had a roof that had just a little bit of a camber, that wants to lay down flat, like just a flat piece of glass. And if you just make this end tighter and that a little tighter, now it's got that little stress going on it, and it only needs a little bit of stress to crack it. So that's one reason why we don't put any screws in them anymore. So, and if they come back for inspection, we take all the screws out, and then what we'll do is just load them, because the product that we use underneath there, it's not coming up. It won't come up. If you have to replace that, you're going to have to rip up that whole entire lens, and you're going to have to. It's not coming up. So, well, anyhow, like I said, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Yesterday I shut the camera off. I forgot to show you the insert trim. So there's the insert trim right here, and this is a different one. We have to special order this, and we don't sell anything here at all. But if you look at this, see it's got the groove in there? And see how it's bulbed? I get it that way on purpose. And it fits in that groove, and it fits in that groove in the track. I'll turn the gutter around and show you. See the little grooves right there? That's what it fits in. So now I'm locking all that water out. A lot of them will just seat right in here, and they'll seat in there. That's it. It'll just go in here, and it'll curve up, and it'll go into there. And I don't like those ones. We always find water and issues in there with them, so we don't do that. But I wanted to get that back on there. Like you said, I shut the camera off, and I was like, dang, I didn't even show it, just as I turned around. All right, well, like I said, we'll see you on the next one.